This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, students. Last class, we started this stability analysis of infinite quotientless soil slope. Already we completed one condition in the stability analysis, that is the stability analysis of the infinite quotientless soil slope when the soil in that soil slope is in dry condition. So in the previous class, we discussed that stability analysis of infinite quotientless soil slope when the soil in that soil slope is in dry condition. So in that discussion, I explained the derivation of factor of safety of that infinite quotientless soil slope. So again, I am going to revise that. Please everyone follow this stability analysis, because if you clearly understand this dry soil condition, then you can understand easily the remaining two conditions, that is submerged condition and also the seepage flow condition. So go through this stability analysis of infinite quotientless soil slope when the soil is in dry condition. So last class I explained this stability analysis of the infinite quotientless soil slope when the soil is in dry condition. To discuss this stability analysis, last class I explained to discuss this stability analysis, we consider the soil in soil slope in three different conditions. One is the soil is in dry condition, the soil is in submerged condition, and the soil is in steady seepage condition. Last class I explained the dry condition of soil in that soil slope. So to discuss this stability analysis, we consider the infinite soil slope AB. So here this AB indicates the infinite quotientless soil slope. This AB, infinite quotientless soil slope with horizontal, that soil slope AB making an angle I. We know that the infinite soil slopes are subjected to translational failure. In translational failure, the critical failure surface is a plane surface. Plane surface means in 2D, two-dimensional representation, the plane surface is represented as straight line. So in this diagram, this straight line AB is the critical failure surface. It is a plane surface. Since it is infinite soil slope, this failure is a translational failure. So this line CD indicates the translational failure plane. In translational failure, the failure plane is parallel to soil slope. So here this line CD is parallel to soil slope, making the same angle I with the horizontal. Take H is the vertical distance between the soil slope AB and the failure plane CD. So about this failure plane CD, this total soil in that soil slope subjected to failure moving in downward direction. Now we are going to discuss what is the factor of safety equation of this infinite quotientless soil slope when this soil is in totally dry condition. To derive the factor of safety between the failure surface CD and the soil slope AB. To derive the equation of factor of safety between the soil surface AB and the failure surface CD, we consider the small soil prism. Last class I explained, we consider the small soil prism between the soil slope AB and the failure surface CD. This is the soil prism. H is the height of the soil prism. B is the inclined width of the soil prism. That is important. This B is the inclined width of the soil prism. H is the height of the soil prism. So the area of the soil prism is not equal to H into B, because here B is not the horizontal width, it is the inclined width. So to find out this area of the soil prism, between the soil slope AB and the failure plane CD, calculate the horizontal width of this soil prism. So first we are going to find out the horizontal width of the soil prism. With horizontal, the soil slope AB making the angle I. So in this right angle triangle, cos I is equal to adjacent side divided by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is B. So cos I is equal to the length of this adjacent side divided by B. So from that you will get this adjacent side length is equal to B cos I. This is horizontal width B cos I. Now this area of the soil prism is height h into horizontal width B cos I. That is the area of the soil prism. Now consider the thickness of this soil prism in the perpendicular direction as unit thickness. So in the perpendicular direction, take this thickness of soil prism as unit thickness. Now the area of this soil prism, here this area of this soil prism is height h into horizontal width B cos I. So area is h into B cos I, and we consider the thickness of soil prism as unit thickness. So the volume of this soil prism is equal to height h into horizontal width B cos I into the unit thickness 1. So the volume of this soil prism is equal to h into B cos I into 1, that is equal to h into B cos I. That is the volume of this soil prism. Assume in the dry condition. In the dry condition, take gamma is the unit weight of this soil. Gamma is the unit weight of soil in soil prism. We know the definition of unit weight is equal to total weight W divided by volume of the soil prism. That is the definition of the unit weight of soil. Unit weight gamma is equal to total weight. Take W is the weight of this soil prism. So the unit weight gamma is equal to W divided by volume of soil prism. Volume of soil prism is h into B cos I. So from that you will get this weight of the soil prism W equal to. So in this soil prism, in the dry condition, the weight of this soil prism W is equal to gamma, that is unit weight, into volume, that is h into B cos I. That is the weight of the soil prism in this diagram. Now we are going to see the further discussion. Check this weight of the soil prism. The weight W acting in vertically downward direction. We know that the weight W of the soil prism is equal to unit weight gamma into volume HB cos I. That is the weight of this soil prism. Now on this failure surface CD, on the failure surface CD, resolve this weight into components. So check this diagram. We know that the inclined surface CD with horizontal making the angle I. So here the angle is I, and here the angle is 90 degrees. So the third angle is 90 minus I. So this weight W with this plane CD making the angle 90 degrees minus I. Resolve this weight on the plane CD into two components. One component parallel to surface CD. This is the direction, downward direction. This is called tangential component T. T is the tangential component, means the component of weight W in the direction of plane CD. That is called tangential component. The second component of weight W perpendicular to surface CD, that is called normal component N. So resolve this weight into two components. One is called tangential component T. Next one is called normal component N. This tangential component T is equal to W cos 90 minus I. Because with this direction, W making the angle of 90 minus I, tangential component T is equal to W cos 90 minus I, that is W sin I. Then this normal component N is equal to W sin 90 minus I, that is equal to W cos I. So in this diagram, we resolve this weight W into two components. One is the tangential component T, next one is the normal component N. Here we must focus on this tangential component T. This tangential component is acting in downward direction. So please give me the response. It's not audible to you. Anyone give me the response? Is my voice not audible to you? Can you hear my voice clearly? Can you hear my voice clearly? One student placed the message that my voice is not audible. Please switch on the mic, cell phone mic, and give me the response. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Now check this. Check this weight component. So please check this weight W. So we resolve that weight W into two components. Is my voice audible? Can anyone give me the response? Unaudible means okay. If it is not audible, please check your internet connections. Please check your internet connections, please, because sometimes due to internet connections in your locations also, you could not able to hear my voice. You could not able to hear my voice because of internet connections of in our location. Now anyone give me the response. Can you hear my voice clearly, students? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. So that lateral entry 109. Please check your internet connections and also the phone settings. Sometimes you may unmute the organizer voice also. So please check your settings in GoToMeet. If it is unmute, voice is unmute, audio is unmute, you could not hear my voice. Because the other students are able to audible my voice. For remaining students, my voice is audible. Dear students, is my voice audible to you? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, coming to this discussion, quickly I will finish it off. We resolve this weight W into two components. One is tangential component T, next one is normal component N. We must focus much on this tangential component. Check the direction of tangential component on the plane CD. This tangential component is acting in downward direction. This tangential component is parallel to the side slope. Since the tangential component T parallel to side slope, for this side slope AB, tangential component is the shear force. Since this tangential component T parallel to slope AB, for this slope AB, tangential component T is the shear force, and this tangential component T produces the shear stress on this soil. The shear stress that this tangential component T produces, the shear stress in the soil between the side slope AB and the failure plane CD. That shear stress due to this tangential component is acting in downward direction. That shear stress is causing the movement of this soil. Since it is acting in downward direction, that shear stress causes the movement of the soil in downward direction that leads to failure of the soil slope. So because of this tangential component T, the shear stress develops in soil, that shear stress acting in downward direction causing the failure of this soil slope AB about the failure surface CD. So in this discussion, we must observe the tangential component T carefully. The tangential component T parallel to soil slope AB. So this tangential component T is the shear force for this soil slope AB. It produces the shear stress in the downward direction on this soil mass. Due to that, the soil mass subjected to downward movement causing the failure of the soil slope AB about the failure surface CD. So here we resolve this weight W into two components, normal component N and tangential component T. Normal component N is equal to W cos I, tangential component T is equal to W sin I. Already we calculated the weight W. Weight W is equal to gamma HV into cos I. Now find out the magnitudes of normal component T, tangential component T, normal component N, tangential component T. Normal component N is equal to W cos I. W is equal to gamma HB cos I into this cos I. So this normal component N is equal to gamma HB cos square I, and the tangential component T is equal to W sin I, that is equal to gamma HB cos I into sin I. So this tangential component T is equal to gamma HB cos I into sin I. Now this tangential component produces the shear stress tau in the soil. The normal component N produces the normal stress sigma in the soil at failure surface CD. So here, so on this failure surface CD, so this is the soil prism, AB is the soil slope, and CD is the failure surface, translational failure surface. On surface CD, the tangential component T produces the shear stress tau on the soil mass, and the normal component N produces the normal stress sigma on this soil mass. Here this shear stress tau is equal to tangential force T divided by area of this plane CD. Area of this plane CD is B into 1. And also this normal stress sigma is equal to normal component N divided by area of the plane CD, that is B into 1. So calculate the normal stress due to normal component N, that is normal stress is equal to normal component divided by area B into 1. Normal component is H gamma into HB into cos square I divided by B into 1 is B. So this B will cancel. So you will get the normal stress on the plane CD gamma H into cos square I. And the tangential component T produces the shear stress tau on the plane CD. That shear stress tau is equal to tangential component T divided by B into 1. So tangential component is gamma HB into cos I into sin I divided by B. B will cancel. So the shear stress tau is equal to gamma H into cos I into sin I. So on the surface CD, two stresses will develop. One is the shear stress tau, next one is the normal stress sigma. This shear stress tau is acting in downward direction. This shear stress causes the failure of this soil slope between the surface AB and the failure surface CD. AB is the soil slope, CD is the failure surface. The soil in between those two surfaces subjected to failure because of this shear stress tau. That soil failure, the failure of this soil is resisted by the shear strength of the soil. The soil is having the property of shear strength, engineering property, that shear strength of soil prevents the failure of the soil in this soil slope and failure surface CD. So here S is the resisting shear strength, tau is the failure shear strength. we calculate this resisting shear strength, maximum resisting shear strength, by using Coulomb equation or Terzaghi equation. According to Coulomb equation or Terzaghi equation, S is equal to C plus sigma dash into tan phi dash. C is the cohesion of soil. Since we consider the soil is cohesionless, the coefficient C is equal to 0 in this discussion. So we are going to calculate the shear strength S by using the Terzaghi equation. S is equal to C becomes 0, coefficient is 0. So S is equal to sigma dash tan phi dash. Sigma dash is called the effective stress in the soil. According to Terzaghi, effective stress is equal to total normal stress minus the pore water pressure. Since in the first discussion, the soil is in dry condition, the pore water pressure is 0. So the effective stress becomes equal to the total normal stress sigma. So in this discussion, the effective stress is total normal stress. Total normal stress sigma is equal to gamma h into cos square I. So this effective stress is also equal to gamma h into cos square I. So the maximum resisting shear strength of the soil is S, that is sigma dash I gamma h cos square I into tan phi dash. So we know the shear stress causing the failure, that is tau. We know the shear strength resisting the failure, that is S. So by knowing those two shear parameters, we can find out the factor of safety of shear strength. We discussed already in soil slopes, the factor of safety of shear strength Fs is equal to the maximum resisting shear strength divided by the shear force, the shear stress causing the failure. That is the definition of the factor of safety of shear strength Fs. The maximum resisting shear force in the soil, that is S, divided by the shear stress causing the failure, that is tau. So in this dry condition, S is equal to gamma h cos square I into tan phi dash, and tau is equal to gamma h cos I into sin I. Simplify this right hand side. Gamma h will cancel, one cos I will cancel, bring the other cos I to the denominator. So this equation becomes as Fs is equal to tan phi dash divided by tan I. So this is the equation of factor of safety of the infinite cohesionless soil slope in dry condition. From this equation 4, by knowing this phi dash value and I value, we can find out the factor of safety of that soil slope. If the factor of safety is more than 1, the soil slope is stable. If the factor of safety equal to 1, about to failure. If factor of safety less than 1, definitely that soil slope subjected to failure. So this is the derivation of factor of safety if the soil slope is in dry condition. So these are all the conditions. If factor of safety is equal to 1, just stable. If factor of safety more than 1, more stable. If factor of safety less than 1, it is not stable condition. So this is the discussion on the infinite cohesionless soil slope stability when the soil is in dry condition. And the second condition is when the soil slope is in submerged condition. During the heavy rainy seasons, sometimes the entire soil slope is below the water level. So check this second condition. We assume in the second condition, this entire infinite cohesionless soil slope AB is totally submerged with water. So here the soil slope is below the water level. So the water is above the soil slope. So the entire soil slope AB is below the water level. That condition is called the submerged soil slope condition. Now please give me the response. Dear students, can you hear my voice clearly? Anyone, please give me the response. Can you hear my voice clearly? Okay, thank you. Now, please everyone check this second condition. The soil slope is totally below the water level. It is also called drown condition or the total submerged condition. During the heavy rainy seasons, it will happen that the entire infinite soil slope is below the water level. Now we are going to discuss What is the equation of factor of safety of this infinite quotientless soil slope AB when that soil slope is totally below the water level? That condition is called submerged condition. Now again check this second case. Here this soil slope AB is the infinite quotientless soil slope. In the second condition, the soil is entirely below the water level soil slope. So here this soil portion, the entire soil is in totally submerged condition. In the dry condition, everyone please listen. In the first case, we consider the dry condition. In the dry condition, while calculating the weight W, we consider the unit weight as gamma, because in dry condition, the soil is in partially saturated situation. So we consider that unit weight as gamma. Whereas in the second condition, since the entire soil is below the water level, here the soil is in totally submerged condition. Since the soil is in totally submerged condition, here you consider the submerged unit weight of soil gamma dash, not gamma, because the soil is in submerged condition. Here this unit weight of soil is considered as the submerged unit weight gamma dash. So in the second condition, that is a submerged soil slope, we are going to assume the infinite portionless soil slope AB is below the water level. So the entire soil in this soil slope is in submerged condition. So here we consider the submerged unit weight of soil gamma dash. So coming to this second condition, we consider the infinite portionless soil slope AB below the water level, that is in submerged condition. Let this soil slope AB making the angle I with a horizontal, and you know the infinite soil slope subjected to translational failure. Take this CD is the translational failure surface. The failure surface CD parallel to soil slope AB, so it is making the same angle I with horizontal. Now to prepare the equation of factor of safety in this submerged condition, consider the soil prism. Consider the soil prism between the soil slope AB and the failure surface CD. H is the height of the soil prism. B is the inclined width of soil prism. Please keep in mind, here the soil is in submerged condition below the water level. So we consider the submerged unit weight of soil gamma dash. Now check that soil prism between the soil slope AB and the failure plane CD. In the dry condition, please remember everyone, in the dry condition, first we calculate the area of the soil prism. We calculate the horizontal width of the soil prism, V cos I. Then we calculate the area of the soil prism. A is equal to H into B cos I. We consider the unit width of soil prism. Then we calculate the volume of the soil prism V, H into B cos I into 1, that is equal to H V cos I. There in the dry condition, we consider the unit weight as gamma. But in this second condition, the soil is in totally submerged condition, so the unit weight is taken as submerged unit weight gamma dash. So in the second condition, the weight of the soil prism W equal to, please everyone listen, the weight of the soil prism W is equal to the submerged unit weight gamma dash into the volume of the soil prism H V cos I. That is the weight of the soil prism in the second condition. W is equal to gamma dash submerged unit weight into H into B cos I. Same as condition 1. In condition 2 also, we can resolve that weight W on the surface CD. We can resolve that weight W into two components, tangential component T, normal component N. The tangential component T is equal to W sin I. The normal component N is equal to W cos I. So the tangential component T is equal to gamma dash submerged unit weight gamma dash into H V cos I into sin I. whereas the normal component n is equal to gamma dash submerged unit weight into h p cos I into cos I. So this normal component n is equal to gamma dash hb into cos square I. We know that due to the tangential component T, the shear stress tau will be developed, and due to normal component N, the normal stress sigma will be developed. The normal stress sigma is equal to normal component N divided by area of the surface CD V into 1. So from that, you will get the normal component sigma is equal to gamma dash into H into cos square I, whereas the shear stress tau is equal to tangential component T divided by V into 1. So that shear stress tau is equal to gamma dash into H into sin I into cos I. Since in the second condition, the soil is below the water. Since in the second condition, the soil is in submerged condition. In the submerged condition also, the pore water pressure is 0. So this is very, very important. You might have studied in the geological engineering, that is in unit semester 1, in the dry condition and also in the totally submerged condition, the pore water pressure in the soil is 0. So in the second condition also, submerged condition, the pore water pressure is 0. Since the pore water pressure is 0, as per the Terzaghi equation, the total effective stress, the effective stress sigma dash is equal to normal stress sigma minus the pore water pressure U. Since that U is 0, in the second condition also, the normal stress sigma dash is equal to the effective stress sigma dash is equal to the normal stress sigma. Sigma is equal to gamma dash h into cos square I. So in the submerged condition, this is the effective stress. Effective stress sigma dash in the submerged condition is equal to submerged unit weight gamma dash into h into cos square I, and the shear stress tau is equal to gamma dash h into cos I into sin I. Since in the second condition, the soil is in submerged condition, we consider the submerged unit weight gamma dash. Then by using this sigma dash, effective stress and Terzaghi equation, we calculate the maximum shear stress S. Maximum resisting shear strength S. So the maximum resisting shear strength S is equal to sigma dash into tan phi dash. So by using this effective stress sigma dash, calculate the maximum resisting shear strength, that is equal to S is equal to sigma dash into tan phi dash, because the soil is motionless soil. So find out that maximum resisting shear strength of soil, that is equal to S sigma dash tan phi dash, and the shear stress causing the failure is shear stress tau, and this sigma dash effective stress is gamma dash h into cos square I into tan phi dash, and this shear stress S tau is equal to gamma dash h cos I into sin I. This gamma dash h will cancel in the numerator and denominator, cos I will cancel 1. Bring this another cos I to the denominator, you will get the factor of safety with respect to shear strength. Fs is equal to tan phi dash divided by tan I. Now check this equation of factor of safety in the submerged condition. The factor of safety in the submerged condition, tan phi dash by tan I. In the dry condition also, we got the same equation of factor of safety. So this factor of safety of shear strength Fs is same in the dry condition and also in the submerged condition. By knowing this phi dash and I, we can calculate this factor of safety Fs in the submerged condition. As usual, if Fs is more than 1, soil slope is stable. If Fs is 1, soil slope is just stable. If Fs is less than 1, the soil slope is not at all stable condition. So in the submerged condition also, when the soil slope is totally below the water level, that is called submerged condition. In the submerged condition also, we have the same factor of safety Fs equation as in the dry condition. So in the infinite motionless soil slope, we are discussing the stability analysis of infinite motionless soil slope. In that infinite motionless soil slope, both in the dry condition and also in the submerged condition, we have this same factor of safety equation. Fs is equal to tan phi dash divided by tan I. So we completed two conditions in the stability analysis of infinite motionless soil slope. First one is dry condition. Second one is submerged condition. Then we are going to discuss the most important third condition in this stability analysis, that is steady seepage condition in the soil slope. Steady seepage. I hope you know the meaning of this seepage. What is the meaning of seepage in soils? Please, if anybody know the answer, give me the response, dear students. What is that seepage indicates in soils? What is the meaning of seepage in soils? If any one of you know the answer, please give me the response. What is that meaning of seepage in soils? Very good. Regular 101. That meaning of seepage in soils is the flow of water. When water flows in the soil, I hope you know the soil is having the property of permeability, that is engineering property. Because of that permeability property, the soil allows the flow of water through it. That flow of water in the soil is called seepage. That is the meaning of seepage. Whenever the water is flowing in the soil, please everyone listen. Whenever the water is flowing in the soil, that is when the soil is in seepage condition, that flowing water in the soil applies additional force in the soil, that is called pore water pressure. So in the seepage condition, this is very, very important. In the seepage condition, the flowing water develops an additional pressure or stress in the soil, that is called the seepage pressure. So in the third condition, we must also consider that seepage pressure, that is the pore water pressure, the movement of water, since the water is in the flowing condition, that is seepage in the soil. Because of the movement of water in the soil, the water applies. Whenever the water is moving in the soil, the water produces an additional stress in the soil, that is called pore water pressure. Now we are going to discuss in the steady seepage condition, what is the equation of factor of safety of the soil slope. So far we completed the dry condition, we discussed the factor of safety equation, we completed the submerged condition, we discussed the development of factor of safety equation. Now we are going to discuss the third important condition, very, very important. The third important condition, the steady seepage condition. So please everyone follow this carefully. Follow this carefully. This is an important condition in this stability analysis of infinite motionless soil slope, that is steady seepage condition. This condition happened in rainy season. The rainwater starts flowing in the soil slope. We know that the infinite soil slopes are formed on the sloping side of hill. Along that sloping side of the hill, the infinite slopes formed. During the rainy season, the rainwater percolates into the soil slope, and the rainwater starts flowing in the soil slope in downward direction. That is called this steady seepage flow condition. Now check the diagram in that steady seepage flow condition. Very, very important. Please everyone follow this third stability analysis carefully. So in this third condition, we consider the infinite side slope AB. It is a infinite quotientless side slope. With respect to horizontal, let this infinite quotientless side slope is making the angle I. Since it is infinite quotientless side slope, this side slope subjected to failure along the translational failure plane CD. In the infinite side slope, the failure is translational failure. So assume the side slope AB is subjected to translational failure along the failure plane CD. The failure plane CD parallel to side slope AB, making the same angle I with horizontal. Now we are in the third condition, that is the soil between the side slope AB and the failure plane CD is having seepage of water flow. Now check that seepage in that soil. This is a seepage flow. Just now I explained, in the rainy season, the water percolates into the soil and that water inside the soil starts moving in the downward direction. This is the seepage flow. So because of this seepage flow means the flow of water in the soil. So here that seepage flow is in downward direction parallel to the side slope AB or parallel to the failure surface CD. This is the seepage flow. Check the vertical height of the seepage flow. H is the vertical height of this seepage flow. Entire soil mass. The entire soil mass from the surface AB to this failure plane CD is having this seepage flow. So the vertical height of the seepage flow is H. This vertical height is very important because this seepage flow produces additional stress in this soil, that is called pore water pressure. Because of this seepage flow, the soil is subjected to the additional stress called pore water pressure. To calculate that pore water pressure, we need this vertical height of the seepage flow. So the vertical height of seepage flow is H. So by using this diagram, we are going to discuss the derivation of factor of safety when the soil is in seepage flow condition. So please everyone check this diagram carefully. In the dry condition, first condition, in the dry condition there is no seepage flow. In the submerged condition there is no seepage flow. The seepage flow is happened in third case. Seepage flow means the movement of water. There is no water above the soil slope. Please check this everyone. There is no water above the soil slope. That is second condition, submerged condition. But here we have the water flow only inside the soil. From the soil slope AB to the failure surface CD, take that height of the seepage flow is H. This seepage flow in the soil produces additional stress in the soil, that is called pore water pressure. Now we are going to discuss in this seepage flow condition what is the equation of factor of safety of the side slope AB. Please everyone observe this carefully. First condition, dry condition, unit weight is gamma. Second condition, submerged condition, unit weight is gamma dash. Whereas in the third condition, seepage flow condition, the entire soil is saturated. Because of this seepage flow means water flow. Because of this seepage flow, the entire soil from the soil slope AB to failure surface CD, the entire soil is in saturated condition. So in the third case, seepage flow, the unit weight is gamma saturation. So in the first case, unit weight is gamma, dry condition. In the second case, submerged condition, unit weight is submerged unit weight gamma dash. Whereas in the third condition, seepage flow condition, the entire soil is in saturated condition. So here we consider the saturated unit weight gamma saturation. Now, to prepare the equation of factor of safety in the seepage flow condition, as usual, take the soil prism between the soil slope AB and the failure surface CD. H is the height of the soil prism. V is the inclined width of soil prism. Calculate the horizontal width of this soil prism. We know that the horizontal width is V cos I. Then the area of this soil prism is H, height H into horizontal width V cos I. So the area of this soil prism is H into V cos I. Consider the unit thickness of the soil prism in the perpendicular direction, unit thickness. So the volume of this soil prism is height H into horizontal width V cos I into the unit thickness 1. So the weight of this soil prism, the volume of this soil prism V is equal to H V cos I into 1. So that volume V is equal to H into V cos I. So check this diagram, already discussed in condition 1, condition 2. Now we are going to find out this volume of this soil prism. Horizontal width is V cos I. So the area of this soil prism is H into V cos I. Take the unit thickness. So the volume of this soil prism is H into V cos I into 1. So that volume is H into V cos I. Because of seepage flow, since water is flowing in the soil, the total soil is in saturated condition. The entire soil is in saturated condition. So we must consider gamma saturation, the saturated unit weight in the third condition. So here in the third condition, we consider that saturated unit weight gamma saturation. Definition is the same. Gamma saturation is equal to weight of the soil prism W divided by volume of the soil prism V. Volume of soil prism is H into V cos I. So this gamma saturation, because of the seepage flow, the entire soil is in saturated condition. So the unit weight of saturation, gamma saturation is equal to weight of the soil prism W divided by volume of the soil prism H into V cos I. So this is the weight of the soil prism in that saturated condition. In the seepage flow, the entire soil is in saturated condition. So we must consider the gamma saturation unit weight. This gamma saturation is equal to weight W divided by volume HB cos I. So this weight of the soil prism per unit thickness W is equal to gamma saturation into HB cos I. Dear students, please check this equation. In the first condition, dry condition, W is equal to gamma HB cos I. In the second condition, submerged condition, W is equal to gamma dash HB cos I. Whereas in the third condition, seepage flow condition, due to that seepage flow, the entire soil is in saturated condition. So in the seepage flow condition, the weight of the soil prism W is equal to gamma saturation into H into V cos I. We call this gamma saturation as the saturated unit weight of soil. Since the third condition, seepage flow condition, we must consider this gamma saturation in the calculation of the weight W. Then coming to the further discussion, we know that the weight of the soil prism W acting in vertically downward direction, as usual, already we discussed, on the surface CD. On the failure surface CD, resolve this weight W into two components. One is the tangential component T, other one is the normal component N. Already I explained this. Resolve this weight of soil prism on the surface CD, failure surface CD into two components, tangential component T, normal component N. We know that the tangential component T of this weight W is W sin I. The normal component N, this is the normal component. This component is perpendicular to surface CD. Please focus this normal component. This normal component N. N is the normal component of weight W. This component N is perpendicular to the surface CD, and that N is equal to W cos I. So we are in the third condition. Study seepage flow condition. Seepage flow means the movement of water in the soil. Just now I explained, when water is moving in the soil, that movement of water produces an additional stress in the soil, that is called pore water pressure. Now I am going to explain you. Please everyone follow this topic carefully. I am going to explain you how to find out that pore water pressure acting in the soil when the water is moving in the soil. So far in the third condition, we discussed up to this weight of the prism W, gamma saturation into H into B cos I. On the failure surface CD, we resolve this weight W into two components, tangential component T, W sin I, normal component N, W cos I. This component T is parallel to surface CD. This component N is perpendicular to surface CD. Then I am going to explain the pore water pressure in the soil due to seepage flow in the soil. Now everyone knows these two components, normal component and tangential component. This is the normal component N of weight W. W cos I is the normal component. So in the third condition, this normal component N, W, you know, the weight is equal to gamma saturation into HB cos I into cos I. So this normal component N is equal to gamma saturation HB into cos square I. And the tangential component T, W sin I. W is gamma saturation H into B cos I into sin I. So this tangential component T is equal to gamma saturation into HB into cos I into sin I. Now everyone please focus on this seepage flow. Everyone please focus on this seepage flow. Here in the third condition, the water is flowing in the soil. Look at the direction of that water. The seepage flow is parallel to soil surface. Please everyone watch this slide on the cell phone screens. Give me the response. Can you see this slide on the cell phones? Can you see this slide on the cell phones? Please give me the response. This is please anybody give me the response. Can you see this slide on the cell phones? Okay, now check that diagram on the cell phones. Very important. We know that in the third condition the water is flowing in the soil, that is called seepage flow. Everyone please look this direction of seepage flow. The direction of seepage flow parallel to soil surface, soil slope. So this is the direction of seepage flow. It is parallel to the soil slope. Because of this seepage flow, the soil subjected to additional stress, that is called pore water pressure. Due to this seepage flow, the pore water pressure is acting in the soil. What is that pore water pressure magnitude? The pore water pressure magnitude due to this seepage flow, the magnitude of pore water pressure is equal to unit weight of water gamma W into the height of the soil. The height of the soil perpendicular to direction of seepage flow. That is the equation of pore water pressure in the soil due to this seepage flow. So everyone please check this carefully. Because of this seepage flow, the pore water pressure indicated as small u. That is the indication of pore water pressure in soil mechanics. The pore water pressure indicated as small u. That pore water pressure in the soil due to seepage flow is equal to the unit weight of water gamma W into the height of the soil perpendicular to direction of seepage flow. Now check this height h. This vertical height h is not perpendicular to seepage flow. To this direction of seepage flow is in the inclined direction. To this inclined direction of seepage flow, the height h is not perpendicular. So to find out the pore water pressure in this seepage flow condition, to find out the magnitude of pore water pressure, we must calculate this height of the soil prism. This is the height of the soil prism perpendicular to direction of seepage flow. We know that this vertical height is h. This vertical height is h, and with respect to this direction, this vertical height h is making the angle I. So this is vertical height h. This height is vertical height h, and in this direction, that vertical height h makes the angle I. So between this vertical height h and this direction, the angle is I. So in this direction, the height is h into cos I. So this is very, very important. This is vertical. That is height h. This is vertical. With respect to this vertical, this direction making the angle I. So between this direction and the vertical here, because this direction, please check this, this direction perpendicular to soil slope. This direction is perpendicular to soil slope. So with respect to vertical, this direction makes the angle I. Since the vertical height is h, that vertical height h along this direction is h into cos I. So this h into cos I is the height of the soil prism perpendicular to the seepage flow. Now we are going to use this h cos I while calculating the pore water pressure. We are going to use this h cos I height, because due to this seepage flow, the magnitude of pore water pressure is equal to unit weight of water gamma W into the height of the soil prism perpendicular to the direction of seepage flow, that is h cos I. So in this seepage flow, the pore water pressure developing in this soil is equal to gamma W into h cos I, not h, because this height h is not perpendicular to the seepage flow direction. First find out the height of the soil prism perpendicular to seepage flow. That height is h cos I. So the magnitude of pore water pressure in this third case is equal to small u, that is equal to gamma W into h cos I. Now everyone please check this another diagram. Just now I explained the height of the soil prism perpendicular to the seepage flow is h cos I. Now you can check that derivation of h cos I in this diagram, because first time most of the students gets confused how this height is h cos I. Most of the students gets confused how this height is h cos I. This is the soil slope or the seepage flow. The seepage flow, please everyone check this. The seepage flow parallel to soil slope. The direction of the seepage flow parallel to soil slope. So the seepage flow with horizontal making the angle I. So for your understanding, I prepare this diagram. The seepage flow parallel to soil slope. Soil slope with horizontal making the angle I. So the seepage flow also with horizontal. This is horizontal. The seepage flow with horizontal makes the same angle I. Then take this right angle triangle. Here the angle is I and here the angle is 90. So this remaining angle is 90 minus I. Here the remaining angle is 90 minus I. And this is the height of the soil prism. This is the height of the soil prism perpendicular to seepage flow. So between the seepage flow and this perpendicular height angle is 90. So check here the total angle. One angle is 90 minus I, second angle is 90. Sum of all these angles is 180. Sum of all these angles, because it is half of circle, sum of all the angles is 180. In that, one angle is 90 minus I, other angle is 90, so this third angle is I. And this is the perpendicular height of the soil prism to this seepage flow. And this is the vertical height of the soil prism H. So with this vertical height H, this perpendicular height making the angle I. So with this vertical height H, this perpendicular height is making the angle I. So cos I is equal to adjacent side, that is this height. Adjacent side divided by hypotenuse, this is H. So from this triangle, cos I is equal to adjacent side divided by hypotenuse is H. So this adjacent side is H cos I. So this is the height of the soil prism perpendicular to direction of the water flow, that is equal to H cos I. Now please give me the response, students. Give me the response. Can you able to understand this perpendicular height H cos I derivation? Is it clear of this derivation of the height of soil prism perpendicular to seepage flow? Actually, vertical height is H, but we are not going to consider this vertical height H because this height H is not perpendicular to seepage flow. In the calculation of pore water pressure, we must require the height of the soil prism perpendicular to seepage flow. So the height of the soil prism perpendicular to seepage flow is H into cos I. So in this diagram, I explained that derivation of H cos I. So this is the diagram explaining that H cos I. So please everyone check this diagram. This is the direction of seepage flow. This is seepage flow with horizontal making the angle I. Because the seepage flow parallel to soil slope, the seepage flow with horizontal making the angle I. This is horizontal with vertical, the horizontal making the angle 90. So the two angles are 90 plus I. So this third angle is 90 minus I. And this is the height of the soil prism perpendicular to seepage flow. So here the angle is 90. In this semicircle, total angle is 180. So one angle is 90 minus I, second angle is 90, so the third angle is I. So this perpendicular direction with vertical is making the angle I. Along the vertical, the height of the soil prism is H. Now along this perpendicular direction, along the vertical height is H. Along this perpendicular direction, to find out this height in the perpendicular direction, take this triangle. In this triangle, cos I is equal to this side, adjacent side divided by hypotenuse. Adjacent side is perpendicular height. Adjacent side is the perpendicular height, whereas the vertical hypotenuse is H. So cos I is equal to adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse H. So this perpendicular distance, perpendicular height is equal to H cos I. So this is the perpendicular height of the soil prism to this direction of the seepage flow, that is H cos I. We are going to use this H cos I to find out the magnitude of the pore water pressure acting on the soil prism. So please everyone Check this 3D of soil prism. Please everyone check this 3D of the soil prism on your cell phone screens. Can you see this image? Can you see this diagram on the cell phones? Give me the response. Can you see this diagram on the cell phones? Now everyone please focus on that carefully. The soil prism diagram. This is a very important diagram, students. Please everyone focus on this soil prism. Now this is the soil prism we consider in the third case. This soil prism subjected to seepage flow. The soil prism subjected to seepage flow. We know that the inclined width of soil prism is B. In this soil prism, the inclined width is B. Inclined width is B. Vertical height is H in that soil prism. Vertical height is H. Check the thickness of soil prism. Thickness is unit thickness. So in this soil prism, inclined width is B, vertical height is H, thickness is 1, and the height of the soil prism perpendicular to direction of water flow is H cos I. Just now we calculated the height of the soil prism perpendicular to direction of seepage flow is H cos I. We know that because of this seepage flow, please follow everyone. Because of this seepage flow, the soil is subjected to pore water pressure. The seepage flow reduces the pore water pressure in the soil. The pore water pressure is acting vertically upward direction. Everyone, very important, follow this carefully. Due to this seepage flow, the pore water pressure acting on this soil prism, that pore water pressure acting vertically upward, the magnitude of that pore water pressure is equal to unit weight of water gamma W into this perpendicular height of the soil prism H cos I. So this vertical pore water pressure is equal to gamma W into H cos I. That is the magnitude of pore water pressure developing in this soil due to the seepage flow in the soil. Since the water is flowing in the soil, this seepage flow produces the additional stress in the soil, that is called pore water pressure. The pore water pressure acting in vertically upward direction, that magnitude of pore water pressure is equal to unit weight of water gamma W into height of the soil prism perpendicular to direction of seepage flow H cos I. So this pore water pressure is equal to small u gamma W into H cos I. Now up to this diagram in the third case, if any one of you is having doubts, please ask me. Up to this diagram in the third case, if you have doubts in this third case, seepage flow condition, if you have any doubts up to this diagram, determination of pore water pressure, please ask me. Dear students, if you have any doubts in the third condition up to this diagram, please ask me. Can you see that prism in the cell phones? The soil prism, is it visible on the cell phones? The soil prism, give me the response. Is that soil prism visible on the cell phones? Okay. Now look at that pore water pressure U. on that soil prism. The pore water pressure is acting vertically upwards. The seepage flow produces this pore water pressure in the soil. That pore water pressure due to that seepage flow is acting vertically upward direction. That magnitude is equal to gamma W into H cos I. Up to this determination of pore water pressure in third condition. If you have doubts, please ask me. So we started this third condition, seepage flow condition. In the seepage flow, the total soil is in saturated condition. So we calculate the area of the soil prism, H into B cos I. We calculate the volume of the soil prism, H into B cos I into 1. We calculate the weight of the soil prism, W, gamma saturation into HB into cos I. In the seepage flow, the total soil is in saturated condition. So we calculate the weight W by taking the saturated unit weight of soil, gamma saturation. We resolve that weight W into two components on the plane CD. Normal component N, tangential component T. Normal component N is equal to gamma saturation into H into B cos square I. Tangential component T is equal to gamma saturation into H into B cos I into sin I. Then we consider the seepage flow in the soil prism. We calculated the height of the soil prism perpendicular to seepage flow. Vertical height is H, but we calculated the height of the soil prism. That is, check this diagram. We calculated this height of the soil prism perpendicular to the seepage flow. That is H into cos I. Then due to this seepage flow, the pore water pressure is acting on the soil in the perpendicularly in the vertically upward direction. That vertically upward pore water pressure acting on this soil, U is equal to gamma W into H cos I. Now check this pore water pressure. It is pore water pressure acting in vertically upward direction. Now check that pore water pressure U is equal to gamma W into H cos I. Now that pore water pressure is acting in vertically upward direction. Now on this surface CD, please everyone check this. On the surface CD, we can resolve this. That is the nature of the pore water pressure. So one student asked the doubt, it is perpendicular to normal pressure. No, the pore water pressure is always in the vertically upward direction. The pore water pressure is not perpendicular to seepage flow. The pore water pressure is not perpendicular to seepage flow. Whatever the direction of that seepage flow, whether the seepage flow is inclined horizontal or in any direction, the pore water pressure in the soil is always in perpendicular in vertically upward direction. That is the nature of the pore water pressure. The pore water pressure in soils, whatever the direction of the seepage flow, whether the seepage flow is inclined or seepage flow is horizontal, whatever the direction of the seepage flow, the pore water pressure in soil is always in vertically upward direction. That is the nature itself, the nature of pore water pressure. Now check that pore water pressure in the diagram. To this surface CD, the pore water pressure is acting vertically upward direction. On the surface CD, we can resolve this pore water pressure into two components, same as the weight W. Just now we discussed the weight W acting vertically downwards. On the surface CD, we resolve that weight W into two components. One component parallel to surface CD, tangential component T. Other component perpendicular to surface CD, normal component N. Similarly, on the surface CD, this vertically upward pore water pressure is resolved into two components. One component parallel to surface CD, other component perpendicular to surface CD. So on this surface CD, resolve this pore water pressure, vertically upward pore water pressure, into two components, same as weight W. Only difference is weight W acting vertically downward, pore water pressure acting vertically upward. Both are parallel. Weight W and this pore water pressure both are parallel, but weight is acting vertically downward, pore water pressure is acting vertically upward. Only the difference is direction. So on the surface CD, resolve this pore water pressure vertically upward pore water pressure into two components. One component is normal to the surface CD, other component is tangential to surface CD. So like this. Please check this image, everyone. Check this image, very, very important. For everyone, it is very, very important, please. Already we calculated the weight of the soil prism in the third condition, W. We resolve that weight into two components. One is a normal component N of the weight W downward, and the other one is tangential component of weight WT. So this N is normal component of weight W. T is tangential component of weight T. Then this pore water pressure U. The pore water pressure is resolved into two components. This pore water pressure U with this surface CD here. With this surface CD, the pore water pressure is making the angle 90 minus I. With the surface CD, same as weight W. With the surface CD, the pore water pressure is also making the angle I. Pore water pressure is acting vertically upward. Resolve this pore water pressure U into two components. One component perpendicular to surface CD. So this component is perpendicular to surface CD. It is the component of pore water pressure U, that is equal to U cos I. This component is the component of pore water pressure perpendicular to surface CD, U cos I. This U cos I component is acting perpendicularly upward direction, whereas this N is the perpendicular component of weight W. N is the perpendicular component of weight W acting in the downward direction, whereas this U cos I is the perpendicular component of pore water pressure. It is acting in upward direction. Then you can also resolve this U into tangential component. This component is parallel to surface CD, that is equal to U sin I. Just now we discussed the weight W resolved into normal component N, tangential component T. Normal component N is equal to W sin I. Tangential component T is equal to W cos I. Normal component W cos I. Tangential component T is equal to W sin I, same as this U. The pore water pressure on the surface CD resolved into two components. One is the perpendicular component U cos I. Next one is the tangential component U sin I. Check these two components, N and U cos I. The component N perpendicular to surface CD acting in downward direction. The component U cos I is perpendicular to surface CD acting in upward direction. These two components are opposite in direction, whereas the tangential components, one is T, tangential component of weight W. Other one is U cos I, tangential component of pore water pressure U. We calculated this U value already. Pore water pressure U is equal to gamma W into H cos I. Now coming to this calculation of factor of safety in the third condition. As usual, the shear strength of soil preventing the failure of the soil slope. Yes. So check this diagram. In the diagram, we have all the forces acting on the soil. All forces. Already we resolved the weight into two components, normal component N, particularly downward direction, tangential component T in the downward direction. The pore water pressure U also resolved into the normal component U cos I and the tangential component U sin I. Now by using this diagram, we are going to prepare the factor of safety in the third condition, study seepage flow condition. Now just I explained, we resolve that pore water pressure U into two components on the surface CD, the normal component, that normal component of pore water pressure, the normal component of pore water pressure is U cos I. The tangential component is U sin I. Check this normal component U cos I. The normal component U cos I perpendicular to surface CD. The area of surface CD is B into 1. We know that the surface CD area B into 1. So due to this U cos I, the upward pressure, upward force, because of this U cos I, it is the pore water pressure normal component. Due to this U cos I, the upward force acting on the surface CD, that upward force acting on the surface CD due to this U cos I is U cos I into area of the surface CD B into 1. So due to this U cos I component, an upward force perpendicular to surface CD is acting on the surface CD. That upward force is equal to U cos I into the area of surface CD. You know that the component of pore water pressure perpendicular to surface CD is U cos I. You know already this magnitude of pore water pressure U, gamma W into H cos I into cos I. So this U cos I is gamma W H into cos square I. Then this U cos I produces an upward force on the surface CD. That upward force is capital U. That is called pore water force perpendicular to surface CD, that is equal to U, that is equal to capital U, that is equal to this U cos I into area of surface CD B into 1. So it is gamma W HB into cos square I. Then these are all the forces acting on the soil prism. The weight of the soil prism resolved into two components, normal component N, tangential component T. The pore water pressure U also resolved into two components, normal component U cos I, tangential component U sin I. That U cos I component produces an upward force on the soil slope CD, that is capital U. Just now we calculated this capital U is equal to gamma W H into B into cos square I. Neglect the tangential component of pore water pressure. Here we are going to neglect the tangential component of pore water pressure. Tangential component is U sin I, that is neglected. So all over in the third condition, soil prism subjected to these forces. One is the normal component of weight W, gamma saturation into H into B cos square I. Next one is tangential component T is equal to gamma saturation into H into B into cos I into sin I. Next one is the upward pore water pressure force. This U is due to the pore water pressure. It is acting perpendicular to surface CD. It is called pore water force. This pore water force capital U is equal to U cos I into area of the surface CD B into 1. Just now we calculated. This U is equal to gamma W into H into B into cos square I. Then due to this tangential component T, because of this tangential component T, the shear stress tau is acting on the surface CD. That shear stress tau is equal to tangential component T divided by B into 1. Tangential component gamma saturation into HB cos I into sin I divided by area is B into 1. So the shear stress tau causing the failure gamma saturation into H into cos I into sin I. Then check the perpendicular direction. In the perpendicular direction, two forces are acting on the surface CD. One is the component N in the downward direction. Other one is the component U in the upward direction. This is the weight of the soil prism component N. This is the pore water pressure component U. These two are acting in the opposite directions. So the effective force acting on the soil prism perpendicular to surface CD is N minus U. So N minus U is called the effective force acting on the surface CD. This is called N dash. The effective normal force acting on the surface CD is the component of weight Wn minus the component of pore water pressure capital U. So N minus U is called the effective normal force acting on the surface CD. N is gamma saturation Hb cos square I minus U gamma W into Hb cos square I. Take this Hb cos square I common in both terms. So it is Hb cos square I into gamma saturation minus gamma W in soils. Gamma saturation minus gamma W is submerged divided gamma dash. So this N dash is equal to gamma dash Hb cos square I. Because of this effective normal force, the effective stress acting on the surface CD sigma dash is equal to N dash by area of the surface CD V into 1. So the effective stress is gamma dash H into cos square I. By using this effective stress, we can calculate the shear strength of soil. S is equal to sigma dash tan phi dash. Sigma dash is gamma dash H into cos square I into tan phi dash. That is the resisting shear strength S. So by knowing the shear stress tau causing the failure and shear strength S resisting the failure, we can calculate the factor of safety in the third condition. That factor of safety is equal to the shear force resisting the failure by the shear stress causing the failure S by tau. Substitute those values, you will get this factor of safety in the third condition, gamma dash tan phi dash divided by gamma saturation tan I. So this is the derivation of factor of safety in the third condition, study seepage flow condition. Dear students, tomorrow also I will revise this third condition because most of you are not aware of that pore water pressure, the calculation of effective stress in soils. So tomorrow I will revise this concept again. Now I am going to stop this today's class, and tomorrow we will continue again this third case. In that I will explain in detail about the pore water pressure and the resolution of pore water pressure, calculation of the pore water force, and the calculation of effective normal force. Tomorrow I will revise this concept. So with this I am going to stop the today's class. You please join the next class.